We're at Target. We're shopping. We walk by a toy aisle. Of course, she wants some toy. I don't remember what the toy is. I tell her no. And she like kind of starts to get upset. And again, she's 2, like sitting in the front part of the cart, tiny. And she kind of takes a deep breath. And then she looks at me in the eye and says, buy me that toy or I will poop my pants.
She threatened
I'm
you?
not kidding.
That's like, is my kid Dexter? Like,
Life gets easier if we figure it out together. Welcome to The Lisa Show.
I've been mothering for a long time, and I have come to a conclusion. There's no
do tell.
easy or hard phase. It's just all the same.
oh no.
Sorry.
It's just different hard.
And different hard and different benefits. And I hate this whole thing of like saying, oh, wait till they're out of diapers or when they're toddlers or when they're out of school or when they're in high school or,
Yeah.
adult kids and all those kinds of things. I know that it's helpful to talk about the good and the bad, but as far as categorizing what is best or worst
Right.
is not helpful to me.
You know, Lisa, I actually remember having a conversation with you about this probably like 3 or 4 years ago when my kids were just starting to have opinions and it was really hard. And they were also still not sleeping. And I was just talking about how excited I was to like be able to sleep more. And I remember you saying like,
What did I say?
well, you said, you were like, oh yeah, physically it does get easier. Don't worry. It'll get easier. But emotionally it gets so much harder. And I just remember like, it wasn't
I'm
like
so
you were,
mean.
it wasn't
No,
like you were
it's
trying
true,
to be
though.
mean. It was like this conversation of trying to prepare me. And it was kind of like this like vertigo shot on me where I just like, I'm walking into this and I can't stop.
But I thought there was a light at the end of the tunnel. There is no end of the tunnel.
Here with me having this really upbeat, lively conversation about motherhood is Whitney Meek and Natalie Matson. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
This is just an idea I think that we want to solve but is unsolvable, which is this huge, overwhelming, wonderful, immersive experience of parenthood. How do we do it better? How do we, while it's a fast-moving train and we're,
totally.
hanging on the side of it.
Yeah.
And hindsight is 20/20, and it's I do appreciate the conversations where it's not to make each other feel bad about guess this one time I really screwed up, but as a way to sort of encourage each other of like, this is so
Right.
funny, because I honestly do think that even some of the worst parenting moments that I've had with enough time, it's kind of funny.
They're funny.
Yeah.
They are.
Like the time that I got a text from one of my kids.
Oh, no.
I won't say what gender
that's
because I don't
generous.
want anyone to
guess.
guess. When I woke up, that basically said, I thought I could handle this myself and I had it under control, but I don't.
Oh, my gosh.
And we need to, I need you to come to this court date with me.
Oh my God.
Tell you what.
Okay, that was not...
You woke up to that?
What
that
a
started
plot
a day
twist.
for
I'll tell you
Hold
what,
on. I have
when
so many
you
questions.
are pregnant with a child and
Yeah.
everyone is talking about the wonders of motherhood, and I'll tell you what, when they're asking you, well, what's your birth plan? And, do you have a cute outfit on the way home? I'm like, no. You guys, don't obsess about your birth plan.
Oh, yeah.
Don't obsess about what you're taking the baby home. Like, there are days coming. They're coming.
There are
and you
court
need
dates.
to, there are
Winter's
court dates.
coming.
There are tests. There are meetings with the principal. There are so many things coming that you need to talk about more than if you're going to talk about whether you're going to get an epidural or not.
Right.
Oh, man.
So I just think that it would be really fun.
Lisa, if I could list 10 things I thought you were about to say that text message said,
That wouldn't be
that
on
wouldn't
any.
even be near that list.
That wouldn't
You
be on
guys,
it.
Good
that's
gracious.
not even the best one.
Oh, boy.
I'm so excited.
No, you
This is just tea time with Lisa here.
You parent long enough,
Yeah.
and you just start collecting these stories. And I think it's really funny because once you start saying, oh, guess what happened to me?
Right. Yeah.
I'm amazed about how people start sharing like things that they're like, oh, I'm so glad it's not just me.
Yeah.
Or I've talked down friends who I'm like, what's going on? Like, you sound like you're muffled. I'm just in my closet closet in the corner. Okay, what's going on? And my friend was like, so I just found a lot of drugs in my, daughter's possession, and I'm just having a moment before I talk to her about it, before I talk to my spouse about. I just have to take a minute here in the corner of the closet. And that is a weird phone call to get, but also wildly like it feels like it's an honor.
Yes.
It's an honor.
Yes.
That's true.
To talk you through this moment.
Yeah. Yes.
And I don't care how great of a parent you are. You could be the very, very best. You're going to have these conversations that throw you off of your game.
Yeah.
And I kind of love to talk and laugh about them.
Well, and finding the connection in it, I don't know. I feel like when you talk about it being like the thing we're all trying to solve, it's almost like we're thinking it's a destination. Mm-hmm. Like, this is when I reach parenthood. This is when I reach good family. This is when I reach happiness. And the reality is, like, it's just meant to shape us the entire time. It's never going to stop. Yeah. And maybe that sounds really gloomy, but it also is like, well, if that's the focus, then it just means like, okay, how do we like lighten it along the way? How do we like connect while we're getting in this journey? And I feel like that's all you can do, because you're not going to reach it.
Sure.
You're not going to find the end point where it's like, hey, I figured it out. We all are great and everything's going to just be this upward trajectory.
Well, and for me, sharing the stories of it, the ridiculousness of it, whether it's like so sad and tragic or so funny and like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Is really great. I have one of my dearest friends, Wendy, I text her like, if anything, totally like if my kids say something really mean or intentionally or unintentionally or something horrible happens or weird, or I'm like, well, I said this because I'm a great mom. But what I wanted to say was,
you need
are
someone.
you kidding me? I didn't raise you to do.
You need someone to share all that stuff.
Totally. And I preface it like, if I wanted to ruin the relationship with my child, this is what I would have said. But this is what I will say, because I want credit for it. And my friend Wendy will give me credit. She'll come back and go, look at you. You're doing it. You're amazing.
Can I get a Wendy?
You know what? Everybody needs a Wendy. And we've also come up with our own catchphrase, which I'm freely giving to other people. When my kids come and do something or say something that I'm like I don't agree with that, especially like adult kids, because guess what? You don't get an opinion.
Right.
They're just telling you. And if you want a relationship with them, then I always go like, yeah, just tell me everything. And they don't agree with everything I do,
right?
Because we're adults.
Yeah,
we're different.
Crazy.
Now.
But if it's something like ridiculous, I'll tell Wendy, so guess what? And then I'll, say whatever detail it was.
Yeah.
And she just responds, I'm just responding now. No, thank you. No, thank you.
No,
I don't.
That's fine.
No, I don't want to do that.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, sorry. No, thank you. And so that's how we validate each other. You got to get a catchphrase.
Yep.
Share your story.
Yep.
No, thank you. I wish could work with like young kids.
Yes.
I know. Wouldn't that be great?
Mom, I puked. No, thank you. Enjoy that.
Let's build a
So
fort.
great. It's
no,
not,
thank you.
It's not on my.
What a great journey for
menu
you.
for today.
Enjoy that.
There's this lady that I go to church with who like our basis of friendship is by like telling stories about how we're not going to sugarcoat motherhood. I told her, I was like, some people will say, yeah, I was yelling at my kids, get in the house. And I'm like, that's not yelling at your kids. It's like, that's not how
because they're far away.
Yeah,
that's not yelling.
You're not telling us how it really was. And I was like, so I talked to her and it's like, get in here, get it out. And she's like, yes. It's like this drug for us now. Every time we see each other, like she'll be like, do you think swearing 2 times before even entering the church building is like okay for Sunday? And I'm like, girl, we're doing it. We're doing it.
Oh,
man.
we're here. It's so true.
Do you ever have those moments where you think, okay, well, with enough time, and if there were cameras here, it would be really funny. But it's like so ridiculous.
Yes.
Like, what are some of those moments for you?
Well, I have a story that I'm pretty sure I've told you both before. But it's like, if I ever do stand-up, this will be my closer.
Nice.
It's that story. I don't know if I'll ever stand up. But it's with my daughter, Kate.
It's always Kate.
It's always Kate.
Yeah, she's got a good personality.
She does.
I like Kate.
She's my middle child, and we always just say she will either be CEO or in prison and nowhere in between.
Yeah.
Like that's just, we're trying to harness her superpowers. She has many. But she was barely 2 and speaking so well. Her older brother is just shy of 3 years older than her, and he was in speech therapy when she was like a baby. And so we'd do all these exercises, and she would do it with him, and she could speak so well at 2. Like one of those, like, how old is she?
Yeah.
And she's kind of tall. Anyway, so she's 2, and she decides she wants to potty train. And in like 2 days, she's potty trained. Like this, again, she's got these superpowers, which is like, all right, look out, world, Kate's coming. So she's freshly potty trained, and we go shopping at Target. Like, do I even need to say more?
My heart is beating really fast already.
We all know, like, the freshly potty trained zone where you're like, where it's like instead of emergency exits, it's like, where are the bathrooms?
And I'm carrying a lot of Ziploc bags.
Yes.
And like, when's the last time you had a sip of water?
Yeah.
How much time do we have?
Did
It's
you
just
swallow spit recently?
Yeah. You're kind of just like, you're kind of clocking, like, what can I actually get away with? Anyway, we're at Target. We're shopping. We walk by a toy aisle. Of course, she wants some toy. I don't remember what the toy is. I tell her no. And she like kind of starts to get upset. And again, she's 2, like sitting in the front part of the cart, tiny. And she kind of takes a deep breath. And then she looks at me in the eye and says, buy me that toy or I will poop my pants.
She threatened
I'm not kidding.
That's like, is my kid Dexter?
She is 2. She is very aware of the cards in her hand. She's very aware.
Did she say it with a straight face?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like at first she was like, eh. And then she kind of like took a deep breath and looked down. And then she was like, buy me that toy or I'll poop my pants. And I was like, oh my gosh, is my daughter a serial killer? What's going on? Like, this is crazy. And I remember just covering my face because I immediately like wanted to laugh. I was like, this is insane. And I left the cart. I just scooped up my kids and we left Target. I was like, nope, we don't negotiate with terrorists. We don't. But like, that's my daughter though. She's like, even now, she's 7, almost 8. She's just always aware of like the cards that she has. She's so smart.
Oh,
Isn't that terrifying?
Social collateral.
It's hilarious though.
Oh my gosh.
I love it. But
that was one, like I wanted to laugh. And I do feel like in general, I try to laugh at like you laugh or you cry kind of things in life. That's kind of my philosophy.
Yeah.
But I do remember driving home and being like, how do I parent this kid?
Yeah.
Like, what the?
I've had those
Like,
moments
how do
where
I-
you're like, how
who
are we
is this
going to
person?
do this? Or what is my
Right.
policy on this? Because I
Right.
never thought that this would be the case. My second child, Owen, was really, really active and would climb on everything. And when they were like 15 months, and I thought I was so clever because I was like, okay, I'm just going to have to take off all the knobs off of the kitchen cabinets, right? Because like Owen's going to hurt himself unless I do. So I did, and I thought I was so clever, and I went to go like take a shower one day, first mistake as a mother.
Okay,
Don't
showering more than 30 seconds alone in the bathroom.
but like,
Good
one
luck.
of those really quick showers.
Yeah,
where
of
you're,
course.
like,
Oh, yeah.
leaning out of the.
Yep.
Did I hear? And I came out, and Owen had opened up the drawers just enough to use them sort of like as a climbing, like stepping stairs. Had gone and climbed up to the top of the cabinets where I had kept, I guess, some Oreos, and he had opened them out, unscrewed them, just eaten the middles so that the middle cream filling, so there was a huge pile of the ends, and had found like the chocolate syrup and just kind of had it everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
And as soon as I walked in, because I'd heard something in the kitchen, so I'm like in my, towel, I come in and I was like, because safety, mess, what is my brain seeing?
Yes.
All within like a split
How
second.
do we even take this all in?
And he turned to me and froze. Like, maybe if I don't move, she won't
It's a T-Rex
see
moment.
me. And then I go, Owen. And he looked at me and he goes, it's okay. It's okay.
We don't care.
It's okay.
It's okay.
And I remember laughing and thinking, I'm sending the wrong message that I'm laughing, but it really is funny.
Oh, yeah.
But also, I cannot even emphasize the amount of time in which he was able to do so much destruction.
Right.
And the look on his face, so sweet, so innocent of like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we all just want the center of an Oreo every once in a while, right? And I got it myself.
Right.
And it's fine. Like, in the grand
It's
scheme.
okay.
And I did have that moment where I was like, okay, how will this translate when this child is older? How do I parent this kid? But super fun.
Yeah.
Funny kid, by the way.
Oh,
a
man.
delight
And it's all
to raise.
fine.
And you know what? He's not wrong.
He's not.
It was fine.
It was fine.
It was fine.
My oldest really went through a poop phase. Like,
So did
he
Kate. We'll talk about
loved his poop.
No. of
And
course.
none of my other kids went through this, thank heavens. But my oldest, he just would take his diaper off when he was like 2. He would take his diaper off and he would play with it. So we
Finger
would like
paint.
zip up his pajamas backwards, and eventually he'd find a way to unzip his pajamas, all that sort of stuff. See, and that's the thing is I had to do all this research because they were like, if you overreact, even if it's negative, they will do it again because they're so excited they got a reaction out of you. And I was like, I'm like parenting sociopaths. Like, how do I tame a negative reaction? I just have to show no emotion when someone just wiped poop all over the walls and on the carpet and he's eating it. And
oh my gosh.
so I got to the point where I'd had it. And I pointed at it. No, I picked up his diaper or something and I was like, stop, this is disgusting. And then he picked up a little circle and was like, no, that's a ball. Like he was correcting me. Like you got the wrong name.
The wrong word.
I said, this is disgusting. No, that's a ball. And I just like had this moment where I was like,
oh my Lord.
oh, it's not even the same page. It's like, he's like, you don't appreciate this?
Yeah.
I just drew this whole thing. And I made a ball with my own materials. Like I didn't even have to get out of the crib. I didn't
I'm
even have to get out.
self-sufficient.
It's all these moments that you don't think that you can never imagine this is how you're going to teach and develop a relationship with another human
Right.
being. Because when we set up Parenthood, we always say like, oh, I'm so excited. Like, I'm going to teach him how to read and I'm going to teach him how to sing songs and like how to ride a bike. And we pick these really traditional sort of kind of like lessons. And I don't know if that's really where the most important lessons that
for
like
sure.
I've learned as a mom have happened. They happen in these sort of weird moments. Like I remember when one of my kids was a little bit older in middle school, right? And I get this call in the middle of the day, one of those calls that you'd never anticipate. There's no like,
Were they in court?
no, different situation.
They're wondering where you're at. They're in court right now.
And my kid called me up and said, hey, Mom. I was like, hey, what's that? Like, because, they didn't have a cell phone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, I lost my tooth. And I said, oh, okay. They're like, 13 at this point, right? And I was like, oh, okay. Everything okay? Yeah, but like, I have my tooth. I said, all right. Are you in pain? Are you in bleeding? Like, do you need some ibuprofen? Did you go to the office? No, I'm in the office. Okay, so what do you need? Like, I'm just getting like really like confused. Well, do you want to come and pick it up? I go, pick up your tooth? No, why? And she was like, for the tooth fairy or whatever. And I was like, well, you're 13 and we know this.
game.
Did I not tell you? No, I know, but I just thought like you would want to like keep it or something. And I go, okay, so maybe I haven't explained this, but like I don't keep all of your teeth. Because this is like my third kid. Like, like I have 5 kids. Like, I don't keep your teeth, like in a little jar. Like I know some people do, I guess. I don't think we've ever talked about, I don't. She was like, what do I do with it? And I said, well, I don't throw it away and she didn't want to do it. And so I said, well, just put it in your pocket. And she said like, well, I don't have a pocket. And I was like, I can't believe I'm having this conversation. Like I never anticipated this. And I said, well, put it in a piece of tissue or I don't know. But go back to class. I was so confused, but I wanted them to feel like loved and validated.
Sure.
But I was so confused.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, well, have a great day. Okay, bye.
And that was it.
That was one of the weirdest phone calls I've ever had in my whole life.
So funny because it's also like that 13 age where like they're in between, right? They're not fully teenagers. They're not fully kids. And so like, I'm sure especially from like a kid's perspective, it's like, well, losing my teeth used to be a big deal.
It's a big thing.
Yeah. And now I don't know what to do.
Well, and what I love is like they first lost their tooth and their first thought was probably, oh, I need to call my mom.
I need to call mom.
My mom for sure needs to know about this.
Yeah.
Right.
She needs to know if things fall out.
But they're like, that age is so like awkward that it is just like, hey, I lost my tooth.
Hey, could you do what we normally do?
Yeah.
And what I also, because I remember that age, I remember being that age too and thinking, well, my mom doesn't have anything going on.
Yeah.
Right.
She can come pick up my tooth.
Yeah. Can I tell you a story on the other end of that? Because I feel like it's this sort of like, oh, I'm not a kid anymore. Or I'm not like, because I remember when I was, I think 19. This isn't a tooth story. Don't worry.
Okay.
When I was 19 or something, my grandma was dying. She had a stroke. And so my mom, I was at home for the summer, and she basically was like, do you want to see your boyfriend in Utah? And I was like, yes. And she's like, get in the car. And we drove from Portland to Utah like overnight so that she could go see her mom. And like up until this point, because it was Easter. It was Easter time. And like every year, I had kind of like become adjusted to the fact that I wasn't going to have like the cool like kid moments anymore because I was 4 years younger than my next sibling. But my friend and I were the like youngest children, so we would do Easter hunts together still through high school. So it was this sort of like silly thing where it's like you get money, we put them in some eggs, we try and hide them in really hard spots by the time you're a teenager. But at this point, I was 19, it was Easter. My mom knew it was Easter time, and she and I were outside of this facility where my grandma was dying. And she pulled some money out of her pocket and she said, she threw it on the ground. She threw it on the ground and said, Happy Easter.
I relate to that so hard.
Because I didn't ask for an Easter egg hunt. I wasn't expecting it. I think it was on her mind. Yes. Like, it's Easter.
How do I phase out of this?
This is a tradition, but I'm going through this thing right now, and my daughter's with me. So she just threw it on the ground and said, Happy Easter. Happy Easter. And I just looked at it and I was like, do you want me to pick it up?
Oh, bless her.
I don't know what to do.
That is really
That was my last Easter egg hunt, was that pile of cash on the ground.
Goodbye to childhood. Pick up some money. We should have some sort of ritual or some sort of holiday. Like, it's done. Yep. Because one thing, now I'm going to be the cranky old lady right now and complain about your generation of parenting.
Go for it.
You guys are making it harder with you're making it harder with all of your last time stuff. Like, my mom didn't do this stuff. My generation, Generation X, we're like, you put your head down and get to work.
Yeah.
And you do it. But you guys are like, yes, you know the first time that you hold your baby in your arms, but what about the last time?
You never know when it's the last time you hold your
so
child.
make it special. And what is that up with that stupid campaign? You only have 18 summers.
Oh my
you better
gosh.
make
Oh,
them.
yeah.
Every time I see that, I physically get ill and think,
we
stop
didn't
it.
start this, Lisa. We're not in on it.
You know what, Lisa?
We're not in on this.
I'm not going to defend that mentality.
I
That
hate
freaking
that.
stresses me out.
yeah.
It's too much pressure.
It is.
I think to the core, it's just trying to say, enjoy, like, be present, enjoy your time with your kids.
Which,
of course,
is a lot better
But when it's like,
than
you
the
only have 6 more times
phrase.
until you never see your son again.
That's
I'm like,
what
I would say like you live this while you can. It's better than what the phrase was repeatedly to me, which was enjoy it while you can.
Oh, yeah.
Enjoy
Yeah.
this
Oh, that's
moment.
true.
And
Yeah.
I was like, do you want to take my kids right now? Because
That-
I guarantee you were not enjoying this moment when you were me.
That's
and that's
true.
why you're telling me to enjoy
Exactly.
it.
That-
because
that
none of us
enjoy
are
it.
enjoying this moment.
Yeah, it
we got to come up with a better phrase
Right?
or
Me too.
campaign. This is
right.
we got to rebrand the way we say. Listen, what I've come up with is way too long, which is I get that it's really hard where you are. I see you in this moment. I've been there, and yes, you need to feel these feelings because there's a lot of grief, and completely inflicting, feelings every time. And it's okay. It will go fast, but that doesn't help you. No. It only creates more stress. So just live in this moment. It is what it is. It's going to be wonderful and horrible and all the things at the same time. And you've got to live your life. And at the end of the day, you're an independent person, but you also want to feel connected with your children. And that's really difficult. So good luck.
Can you embroider that?
Yeah, let's just
I'm embroidering it on a pillow, but it's like one of those like bolsters.
Oh, it's a body
it's
pillow.
A body pillow.
Yeah.
One of those pregnancy pillows.
I'm not very fast at embroidery, so I think by the time I'm a grandma, hopefully before the arthritis kicks in, I'll have my message out to the masses.
It is true. I think I've heard the days are long, but the years are short. It was the most like, oh, you're right. Like
that's what's always in my head.
It's recognizing like, those days can be hard.
Yeah.
But also, it does go by fast.
The most helpful phrase to me was, even when it's hard and you're just like crawling through the day, you're still getting through it.
Yeah.
It's still, you're
You
still,
did it.
you still did it. Like the day is still passing. Even if you just feel like you're like hanging on by your fingernails.
The good and the bad days.
Yeah. You like even your worst moments actively, even if you just sit there doing nothing, it's passing. You're getting through it. And I was like,
this too shall
that
pass.
makes sense. That makes sense. I like even my worst moments, I'll sit there sometimes and just like, have children jumping on me while I didn't get enough sleep or something and just be like, the minutes are passing. They are passing right now.
Yeah, I love it though. I think that you sort of, to some extent, get to remember what you want to remember. And that's kind of a tricky thing, I think, because your brain can play tricks on you and not every thought is true and stuff. But I do think that the stories that you repeat and how you talk to your kids about stuff relates to it. Like my kids love to hear the story of when we first moved into our house, I needed to get a fenced-in backyard for Owen, who was
everywhere.
I don't know if you guys know the writer Eric D. Snyder. He's a great family friend, and he described Owen as, Owen has bees in his head, and the bees are crazy. And they tell them, to do things. And so, my kids would love to say, tell us another story about when Owen had bees in his head.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And I have to tell you that Owen is the most just like creative, interesting, kind, loving, nurturing person ever. And like honestly a joy and a delight to raise and just to be associated with. So it's funny now to be able to go back and to be like, I tried so hard to keep you safe and you made it so hard, And honestly, like we had this old 1970s house, and it had those like, I don't know how to describe it other than if you know these 1970s houses where they sort of have like an aluminum awning on the back.
Oh, yeah.
That have like little swirls.
Yeah.
In the stands.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Like they look like cursive S's.
Oh,
yeah.
With his brute strength, he like pulled them down.
Oh my gosh.
You guys 2 years old.
No.
And to use it because I need to climb on this roof.
And these are some stepping
And
stools.
these are they're just the wrong way. He bent them.
Someone
climbed
put these
up
in
on
wrong.
Yes, somebody put these the wrong way. I will remedy this. And it had been less than a week since we moved into our house. Christopher was gone somewhere. I was holding my baby. I had a baby. She was kind of crying. I was holding her. And our oldest, Miles, was really like well-mannered and very verbal. And Owen didn't speak until late because why did he need to? Miles would do all this talking and he was too busy doing stuff.
Right.
And so Miles comes in and he's like, excuse me, Mom. Because that's how he talked. He was like 3.5. Owen is on the roof. And I was like, no, he's not. No, he's not.
Owen is on the roof.
Yeah, he is. He's just being silly. And I went outside. I'm holding this baby. And I was like, Owen. I can't see him. And I'm like thinking, oh my gosh, he fell off. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
He just comes walking over the top of the roof, the crest of the roof, looks over at me like, what?
It's okay.
Like, yeah,
it's
Mom,
okay.
he's that kid. It's okay. What? And I go, oh my gosh, sit down on your bum and scoot to Mommy. And he was like looking at me like, she's crazy, but okay, why is she... And like I have this baby. I think to myself, I can't ask the neighbors for a ladder because I haven't I haven't even been here 3 days, and they're going to think I'm that lady that can't control her kids.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then
Totally.
also I was like, I can't leave to go get a ladder because I've got this baby and he's on the roof and I need to have eye contact. So I'm like, stay there. And I get like the stool and I give the baby, the 3-year-old, the baby, to the other baby.
I mean,
they're all babies.
They're all babies.
You know.
And I get up on the stool and I'm like, scoot down to me. And he's looking at me like, okay, but like I literally just walked up here. I can just walk down.
Just get down.
And I got him down and he looked at me like,
What were you saving me from?
Yeah, exactly. And it was just so funny because I just thought, I will now see through his eyes, right? Like, that's why I can't let the kids go outside and if it's not like locked fenced. And do you know what I mean? And I got to check on him.
All of a sudden you see the swirls as stepping.
I had to unscrew all of those swirls and say, hey, we don't go on the roof because it's super dangerous. And we built a tree house and we built, and I got a trampoline because I'm like, this kid's got energy.
Just get it all
like
out.
we're going to go to the park every day, and trying to find those sorts of things. And I think back about it now. And again, it's so much easier now just to be like, oh, Owen's great.
Right.
But at the time you're like, how do I keep you safe? Like, how do I get through these days of keeping you safe? And
or like when your kids are younger, like I said, Kate is now 7, almost 8. And I'm just like, how do I keep that fire sparked?
Yeah, and not extinguish it.
In a good way so that you can have a healthy life.
Yeah.
Really. That's it.
Yeah.
Of like, she just loves to push the boundaries. She's always asking questions. Like, she's just so smart.
Yeah.
And I want it to be for good.
Right.
And not for evil. Not that I think she's evil. I shouldn't say that. But you know what I mean? Like,
no, you do because you worry about every little thing.
I wish I could just have like a crystal ball and just see 5 seconds in 10 years and be like, oh, okay, she's okay.
It is helpful,
like she's going to be okay.
It's helpful to hear from older moms who then say like, I had a kid like this when they were a kid, and this is how it manifested when they grew up. Even just like my oldest has ADHD, and it's, he does maybe have a little bit of the attention and hyperactivity things going on, but it's mostly emotional dysregulation. And so, like, he'll feel the same things you and I are feeling, and it's like, I totally get why you feel that way. But instead of just, like, being sad, it's like a storm, and it's just everywhere. And so I'm constantly just like, is this going to keep him from making friends? Is this going to be like, am I failing to give him enough tools and resources so that he'll grow up to be something that is way over here that, I don't meet many humans that age that become like that terrible person, but I'm obviously going to produce the one that becomes that terrible person.
Of course.
But I was talking to my sister who has a daughter with ADHD who had these like really big emotions and would get so angry and so sad all the time. And she's the sweetest girl now. And so I'm like, okay, there's hope at least because like all these formative years, while it's scary because it is formative and it's like all this stuff behind it, but you realize like, everyone needs time to become who they are. And in the meantime, they're just finding tools. Yeah. And maybe that means they're going to have these uncomfortable situations where someone doesn't want to play with them because they're being a jerk on the playground. And maybe that, but it's helping me in a long-term perspective. It doesn't always help me in the moment to stop from the worries and the what ifs, but to be able to hear like, okay, so you had these experiences when they were young where you thought they were going to be a psychopath serial killer. And now look at them, and there was this in between where something happened, and they got more tools. They grew up and became someone who, it's maybe isn't the person you grew up to be, but that's great. They have their own like superpowers. They have their own abilities that you see where they came from.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's helpful to hear that.
I think that takes me back to that phone call you had from your friend in the closet of like, it's so nice to have that person to call.
Yes. Because sometimes it doesn't work out. Like,
it doesn't become a super
power. And I do, again, I feel like I kind of want to censor myself.
Yeah.
And not be
Give
like,
it to me straight, Lisa.
You guys have no idea. But the kind, and I don't want to be that lady.
No, we really don't.
But
we're terrified.
I have friends, and I've had situations where, all the hopes and dreams that you have for your kids of just being like not unrealistic, a healthy, happy contributing independent member of society, and it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And those are some of the difficult conversations that I'm having with my friends because it's hard. Obviously, you should not take it personally. Obviously. But motherhood is the most personal
you're like,
thing
I was the
in
one
the whole
constant. It's the
most
world.
personal
So
thing
having
in the
those
world.
kinds of conversations where you see all of the perfect pictures and the beautiful milestones that the other families are having of graduations and college and, you know, mission trips and, you know, philanthropic work that other children, you know, people's children are
Those
doing.
are my very realistic expectations.
No, but for real. And they're starting businesses and they're getting married and they're having grandbabies and it just looks like, and you're seeing all that. And if you have a kid that is probably never going to graduate from high school or has some really severe mental illness or has a drug problem or fell in with the wrong kids, you know, as people say, and because have been surrounded by, you know, a lot of different kind of challenges than other people's. And it is not indicative of your level of mothering or parenting or how much you cared or how well you did. And so those are the difficult conversations that I find myself having with my friends of saying, well, you know, like, will this kid ever be okay? What should I have done differently? What could I have?
For sure.
And those kinds of conversations break my heart more than anything. Because especially like with friends that I'm like, oh, you are like my ideal mom. Like I haven't seen anybody else do it better. And not have that kind of, I don't want to say reward because they're not like these little versions of ourselves that are just here to perform our unresolved, you know.
But in an unhealthy mindset, that is kind of what it feels like
and
sometimes.
so this process of motherhood and these kinds of questions for me and my friends have become of like, it really boiled down to I love them unconditionally forever and ever and want a relationship with them. And what does that look like? And parenting, you know, I'm laughing so hard still at your Easter story about like just throwing, you know, money on motherhood feels like that sometime.
It really
of like,
does. I was about to say, I just
like we
empathize with your
just
mom.
had this really big like emotional understanding, you know, I want you to do this with your life. You want to do that. Here's the good reasons why I have. Here's the good reasons why you have. Okay, you're in charge of your life. You're going to choose this and not what I chose for you. Okay, I love you. And let's still have an open, honest, like relationship.
Right.
You don't have to perform for me. Where's the ceremony for that?
Right.
You know, where's the Facebook post for that?
Yeah.
We had that conversation.
We had this conversation and now we have a really great, we made the transition from adolescent to adult, like mother, son, or mother, daughter.
Power struggle.
Yeah.
To like understanding and acceptance.
And that feeling of
that's
like
the hardest
you have to
thing.
detach and attach all at the same time. Like parts of it you have to be like, okay, that's just them. That's on them.
Call it detaching with love. Like it's this you detach from the codependency, I guess. Where it's like you don't need them to be a certain way for you to feel love for them and to feel whole for yourself. And if they can also get to that point. And also, I'm curious what your conversations have been with like older parents. And I'm curious what parents who have kids who are older are going to be like in future generations. Because I just look at like,
curious about that.
My parents, you know, they had so few tools given to them by their parents, who I'm sure had even fewer tools because mental health just was not talked about in my parents' homes. But I think about those generations whose kids just have kind of passed the mark of selfishness as like an inherent lifestyle. Because at some point, usually around like 25 or 26, I noticed people stopped getting like jerky. You know, they stopped being so self-centered and so just because life
Teaches
had
you
to
that.
open them. Had to open them
your eyes
up
a little bit.
So I'm also just curious how the relationships change when like people pass their mid-20s, and maybe it's just going to get pushed farther back as we're like maybe developing things a little later as we're easing more into these phases of life with you know, generations now. But I'm curious just to see like how does that relationship then change from like, okay, we really don't agree, but we understand each other, to like, we still are always going to have these different viewpoints, and like we're able to like so healthily like connect and discuss without just feeling like I just have to bite my tongue or stuff like that. Like, is that a point someone ever reaches? Or
I
is that like
it's
fairy
like
tale?
No, I think it's like any relationship, right? It has to change over time. It can't stay the same.
Yeah.
My relationship with my parents is different than it was. It has been over the years. I will say to my parents, I have said, you didn't prepare me for any of this. And guess what? Parenting me was a joy and a delight. And I didn't give you any worry. And and the things I've had to say and the things I've had to do, you have never had to do. And my dad will laugh and he'll go, yeah, you're right. Good luck.
Good luck.
And my mom was like, I know. You guys were so great and easy. And I'm like, stop. That doesn't
help.
So I just lay it out.
Yeah.
And joke about it because that's my way.
Yeah. Because what else can you do?
Because what else can you do? And I talk to my brothers and sisters a lot, especially my brother and sister who have kids. In fact, the other day, my brother and I are he's so funny. He's a doctor. And he's like the funniest doctor you'll ever meet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He kills. And he makes me laugh so hard. And he'll be like, how's it going? And I'll say, well, this happened and this happened. And so-and-so decided this. And they're making the choice to do that. And it's great because it's none of my business. And that's how I tell him, news.
Yeah.
I'm being deliberately vague.
Yes.
And he'll just laugh and he'll be like, oh, that's great. Because my kid decided this and is doing that and thinks this. And it doesn't bother me at all because we are two distinct individuals that love each other. And I'm maintaining a really great relationship. And I'll say, well, good on you.
Good on you.
I'm glad we had this.
And I'm glad we had this talk, but it's just a way to sort of joke about how when your kids are adults, it doesn't matter what you think. And here's the other thing. They know what you think.
Yeah.
I always think, wait. Did I explicitly tell you that I don't want you to do this and that I really wanted you to do this? Did I? Did you surmise this from the way that I parented you? Here the jig is up. They know. They know.
They
and
get
you know
it.
what? They're so sick of it. They're so sick of your opinion. They want it. They need to go find out for themselves and decide themselves. And just like you did.
The Lisa Show is a production of BYU Radio. This week, our show was produced by Lisa Valentine Clark and McKay Menden. If you want to continue the conversations we started, please join our group on Facebook called The Lisa Show Listener Community. And don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We would really appreciate it. It helps us out a lot. Next week on the show, that's next week on The Lisa Show.